started.
What's your screen time, Jimmy?
Oh, last week was tough. It was close to. It was like 9 hours and something minutes.
So
I don't know what you guys are at.
I think mine was down to 12 hours last week.
Wow,
Yeah.
I thought I was bad. I guess I'm on the light side here.
I knew going into the report that it was going to be high. I had a couple of days where it was like just raining, and I was just like, "This is going to kill my average," and it did. I'm usually around 7.
Yeah. So welcome to the Garden Report. We are less than a week out from the first preseason game. Preseason practices are underway. We have some intel. We're talking to the Celtics as they are doing their thing down at the Arbeck Center. We can't go because we can't go. But normally we would. But we get to hear from them, hear some updates on the players. We had some stuff today. Brad talking about Aaron Naismith. We'll talk a little bit about some things concerning the team as we're going to get to see some action sometime in the very near future. It's
5 days.
6 days.
6 days.
15th. So we're talking 6. Yeah.
9th, 6 days, less than a week.
Cross it off your calendar, Jimmy. Old school style.
I can't wait. I'm even jumping a day ahead.
But still, there's still a bit of news. News calmed down a little bit, so we're going to manufacture some stuff today. Bobby Manning, Jimmy Toscano, Josue Pavone. Bobby, what's our sponsor? Legends?
TheLegendsBrand.com.
TheLegendsBrand.com. It's powered by Legends Brand. All your fresh athletic apparel from Legends. 20% off your next purchase. Visit legendsbrand.com / what, Bobby?
Horford 20 for Anna Horford.
No, /
Bobby,
Horford.
you can point at the jersey behind you. Look at
Use
that.
the code Horford 20 to get 20% off.
Wait, time out.
Perfect. No graphic needed.
Josue is wearing it. Is that true, Josue?
Yeah, these are fresh. Like I'm not kidding you. This is like my
This is
second or third
incredible.
one. I got my third
What a
one coming in.
coincidence.
This is my favorite one probably.
Can we get a little spin? Can we get a spin? Can you show that off for the good people watching on YouTube?
No.
If you want me to, but
It's just a quick like what do we got here? Okay.
we can do it later.
That's more of a twist.
I'll show you later.
Yeah. All right. So
Okay.
let's get into
Got me modeling over here. No, I'm good.
Let's get into some stuff. Everybody loves lists. They're fun to debate. ESPN came out with one of theirs.
Everybody loves to hate lists, but go on.
They love to hate them?
Yes.
Why do they love to hate them?
Because they're usually very wrong, or because everyone's got their own list. Like if everyone had the same list, it wouldn't be.
Everyone
point to have a list.
Everyone hates lists, yet they love them because they can debate them endlessly. And their ESPN sent out its top 100 list up until player 11, and Jason Tatum is the last one on the list. So he didn't crack the top 10, but up to 11 is quite an accomplishment for him. Kemba Walker all the way down to 48. Marcus Smart jumps from 87 to 37 on this list. Jaylen Brown goes up from 51 to 32. Jason Tatum also a big leap up to 11. And again, lists are lists, and we're not holding this as holy gospel, but we still want to kind of talk about it because it is interesting and they're fun to debate. Our friend Gordon Hayward comes in at 44. So Marcus Smart is better than Gordon Hayward, apparently, in ESPN's eyes, who is slightly better than Kemba Walker, who's been slightly diminished because of his knees and his uncertainty. So we'll see what's happening there. But, guys, your initial thoughts on this list. Mine is obviously Smart way too high and Jaylen actually a little bit low.
Yeah, and if you're comparing it to last year, you're not as top heavy with the talent in terms of your percentage of the league's top 25 guys. I did a top 25 myself. I did my own list at the end of the regular season last year, and I had 4 Celtics in the top 30. So that's different now. Kemba takes a dip.
Shocking.
Kemba takes a dip with the
4 Celtics. That's not even counting
I was
the top
So
six.
they were in the top 20.
I almost interjected when John was talking about how much he hates the list because I'm kind of with him on that, but no other list that I hate more is a preseason list. And then, Bobby, for you to say that you have a post NBA Finals list, that's probably the second worst one.
No, it was between.
They don't last. They don't mean anything.
It was between the regular season and the playoffs, and you're right. The list changed completely by the end of the postseason.
You actually did that? You took time? Okay, all right.
Hey,
Out of your life?
I believe it.
Hey,
I'm
we gotta
surprised you
churn
didn't
out
have
the
him in top
content
20.
here.
How long did
Yeah,
that
but-
last? A couple of months?
No, yeah, it changed rapidly after the whole Jimmy Butler situation that we saw in the playoffs. And I think that's an interesting thing about this list, too. Definitely considering playoff runs quite a bit. I mean, Jamal Murray gets into the top 25. That's playoff performance right there. You talk about some of the other guys. Biggest surprise, Zion, 19. Like the Zion hype continues. What does he play? 30 games?
I would have had him higher.
Wow.
I don't think there's 18 guys in the league I want in front of him. I'll tell you that. If
that's not what the list is, though, right?
It's not.
What's the list all about?
And this is why they do these lists. Exactly.
It does project out a little bit in terms of, kind of entering the season. So I think the 30 games he played is less of an issue. I do, again, want to talk about the Celtics here. All right. One by one, because again, it doesn't matter where they are on a list, but relative to their expectations for the year, it is important, okay? Because you need, if Marcus Smart is a top 37 player in the NBA, then that's a trio that you can feel pretty good about. I debate whether that's actually true. I don't understand how Marcus went from 80. Again, it's a list. We know it's not gospel. But how does Marcus go from 87 to 37 in a year when his offensive metrics went down in terms of efficiency? His three-point shooting got worse. His overall field goal percentage was 34. I mean, he was not. Again, we know he can distribute. We know he does other things offensively to make up for that. But this is a guy who we are now asking a 34% field goal shooter to shoot more. And that's important to the team's success this year. That worries me a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part of the list that stands out the most, right? Obviously, because of Marcus Smart. And there's two reasons. One, because of what we saw in the postseason. He didn't have a great postseason, especially in the Eastern Conference Finals. So that stands out to you. It's like, okay, well, how did he get high on this list? The reason I think he got high on this list is because, just like everyone else is saying, and what we've been talking about, he's going to take on a big role because of Kemba Walker, because of the way Gordon Hayward left, and now there's this huge void. He's going to take up a huge step in that. And I think ESPN, which, of course, this is why I hate these preseason lists, because they're either getting way too ahead of themselves or they're emphasizing, it's either one or the other. And with this one, I think they may be just saying they may be valuing Marcus Smart a little more than we do, I guess the best way to put it. I don't know. I don't think I would put him that high on the list, but I see why they did that, because they know that his responsibility is going to expand ridiculously in the next couple of months.
What's crazy is that we always say Celtics fans overvalue Marcus Smart more than anybody else in the league does. That's why I was surprised to see Marcus Smart.
Things sort of changed. It's sort of 50-50.
That's a surprising thing. That's surprising. I mean, if you told me Marcus Smart was at 55, I'd be like, okay, I don't think anyone really bat an eye there.
We don't know how many beat writers, how many Celtics beat guys were on this panel along with Bobby.
We don't know if weird Celtics Twitter put this list together. The other thing I'll say about the list, we shouldn't jump to conclusions. We don't know who the top 10 is yet, and we haven't heard Tristan Thompson's name. We haven't heard Daniel Tice's name. We haven't heard anybody, any of those guys' names.
How are you going to lead off with Tristan Thompson on that? But all right, go ahead.
Well, because the way Bobby talks about Tristan Thompson, it sounds like he's going to be top 10 this year. So I'm just waiting for that name. But
he didn't play in the playoffs. He was on the Cavaliers. We know the kind of influences that are being placed on this list. So he didn't have a spotlight on him. How many national TV games did the Cavs have last year? I mean, people probably don't even know Tristan Thompson played last year.
Yeah, he did?
I know.
Look at Bobby turning into Tristan Thompson spokesman. Come on, Bobby. Don't let Jimmy push you around like that.
I thought Jimmy, Josue,
the top 10 guy.
We were sitting here in July. We were sitting here in July with this being a dream free agent signing for me and Jimmy is completely turned on it. It's
That's
unreal.
Not true. I am a fan of Tristan Thompson. I think he's gonna help the team, but it doesn't take away from all the negative that happened. I don't want to get back.
I got a question for Bobby though.
I don't want to do this again.
I remember.
No.
I almost wanted to make
no Hayward talk
during the playoffs when you were talking about Daniel Tice, right? What was your go-to line? Top 10 center in the NBA. Where's Daniel Tice on this list? I mean, where Daniel Tice is valued, you think about that, and we're talking about Tristan Thompson here. I was like, well, wait a minute. Is Daniel Tice top 100? Is that something that we should be debating?
You know who is top 100?
Miles Turner.
Miles Turner.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say. I'm done.
Jason Tatum at 11. I think that's pretty fair. I mean, he could have cracked the top 10. Right? Yeah. I think Tatum could have cracked the top 10. I mean,
well, look at it. I mean, let's go through it. We know what the top 10 is now, just based off of omissions. Okay, so the top 10, I wrote it down. It's very clear, but it's LeBron.
No. Yep.
LeBron, AD, Curry, Giannis, Harden. We had help me out with the rest here. I had it all written down.
I thought, okay, yeah. So we got LeBron, AD, Harden,
LeBron,
Giannis,
AD,
Luka.
Harden, Giannis, Luka, Durant, Curry, Dame, Kawhi, and I'm looking at Jokic here as the 10th. He might be the only one on that list I think you could possibly make a case for Tatum over. I don't know that you can make it for anyone else at that point.
I mean, is Curry still there? Is Curry still a top 10 player? We haven't seen him
You
in a
have
while.
to. It's tough, and that was
you can't penalize Curry and Durant because these guys were immovable top 5, top 10 players a year ago just for missing a year. Even though Durant I'm far more skeptical of than Curry because of the nature of his injury. That Achilles is friggin' a killer.
You can't project where they're going to fall to either. What do you do? Put them at 30, put them at 55? Like, you just can't predict it.
Well, they dropped Kyrie. I mean, Kyrie fell if he's in the mid-20s.
He's 25, yeah.
Yeah, so...
That's interesting too, because the games he did play last year, he was excellent. He was pushing 30 points a game. So again, I don't like this list at all. I just went through the centers. Josue, Marc Gasol's on here. I mean, we watched that series.
Really?
Marc Gasol, I don't know what's going on with this.
That's the part that I'm surprised no one has even mentioned, or I don't know if you guys have heard it, but where's Daniel Tice?
He's better than Marc Gasol. He whooped Marc Gasol in that series.
Disagree. I don't disagree.
No offense to Marc Gasol, but
you get what I mean, John? I mean, I'm not trying to go debating this list or whatever, but you get what I'm saying, right? If you're valuing, Marc Gasol, Daniel Tice, it's like, wait a minute. What kind of measurement are we doing here where you don't have Daniel Tice or at least somewhere close?
The measurement is that maybe one of two
last year or
there's one of two options here, okay? The two options are most people just didn't pay attention to what Daniel Tice did all year, and you really had to be a member of Celtics media or a Celtics fan to actually watch and appreciate. You think national media making this poll has any clue what the Tice seal is? Of course they don't. Okay.
Yeah, but John, I think they were watching the playoffs though.
Yeah.
Wait until they see
in the playoffs. You're watching a guy foul players who were better than him 5 times a game. He had games where he was certainly like a good contributor, but
the Heat series hurt his image.
He's playing up over his head so much of the time because in the playoffs he was up against just tougher matchups. And obviously the Heat series hurt him because Adebayo's just sitting there just friggin' catching lobs.
Yeah, it was bad.
That was a tough one.
One thing about Marc Gasol, people forget probably before they made this list, is he literally had a nervous breakdown in the middle of that Celtics series, shaved all his hair off in the middle of the series. I thought he was going to leave the bubble.
It was like Full Metal Jacket.
I mean, I don't know how we're doing the top 100 list and talking about 97. That's so the show, but it's so crazy because we watched him that whole series and we're just like, is this guy going to be in the league next year? And all of a sudden he's got a Lakers deal. The Lakers fans are pitching him being the key addition of the offseason. Like my head was spinning with the whole Marc Gasol thing all offseason.
And again, less about the list, more again for me from the Celtics perspective, the importance of guys ascending. Okay, the entire success of the Celtics at this point this year and going forward is predicated on Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum not being 11 and 32 on a top 100 list, but eventually being 5 and 12 on a top 100 list. That's how they get to the next level. That's not beyond the realm of possibility. I actually think Jaylen is a tad low here.
I was just going to say that.
And you can look at, and again, you can look at this list and say, I could see a few people in front of him. I'm going to pull, and I'll throw some names out here. I could argue Jaylen should be, let's go for the guys immediately in front of him. Okay. He's at 32. You have
Siakam.
Right in front of him, Siakam's stunning. John Morant, kind of a quick leap there. I might argue Morant will have the better career, but Kyle Lowry, no freaking way am I taking Lowry over Jaylen Brown. No way. Yeah. Trae Young, I can understand that. Ingram, Lakers fans from a couple years ago having that Ingram versus all of the Ingram debates here.
They're loving that.
They don't want to hear it now because he's not there anymore. I can't argue against Brandon Ingram for what he did last year. McCollum, Gobert,
I would take Brown over both those.
I would take Brown over both of them. Then there's Kyrie, Siakam. I would take him over Siakam. Karl Anthony Towns, I take Jaylen Brown. Then you start Bradley Beal, Jamal Murray, more offensive-minded players, Paul George. I can make an argument for Jaylen Brown over Paul George too. So that's all the way up to 20 before you've got guys all the way up to 20 on this list where you say Jaylen Brown wouldn't have been stunning if Brown came in at 21, 22 on this list,
I disagree with the Paul George.
And again, it would not have been shocking if Jaylen Brown was there, right?
Are we all still?
He should have been top 30 for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, not to start picking at names, but like Chris Paul 15, that looks like he is he still a top 15 player?
I think he is.
The Renaissance season though, that boosted him up.
I want to focus on four names on this list. And you talked about Jason Tatum at 11. Who comes in at 12 and 13? Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo. I mean, wow.
Yeah. So I want to get into that in a little bit because I do want to talk about tandems.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, but that's a good one that you point that out. Anything else on? So I mean, I do think, like I said, is this team, if Jason Tatum becomes a legit top 5 carry a team scorer, even the little bio under Tatum, talks about, does he have what it takes to be more than a number 2? He's obviously more than a 2, but meaning like the alpha who carries a team sort of number 1 guy,
right.
Not like a Bradley Beal number 1 guy who's fine and good, but he's probably not going to carry a team to a championship. Is he that next level alpha? And that's what we're going to find out.
And honestly, when you look at the 10 names you listed before him, I don't think he's there yet. I don't think he is with LeBron, AD, Harden, Giannis, Luka, Durant, Curry, Dame, Kawhi, Jokic. I don't think he is with that tier yet. And he shows flashes of it. I think he's capable of it. He's also 22. So I mean, can you even expect him to be? I mean, obviously, yeah, like Luka and some of these guys are around the same age, but there's some guys in this list that have been in the league for 10 years that. It's not easy to unseat them at this point in their careers or in his career, but does he have the capabilities to? Absolutely. And I think that's why it's so important to build around him. And I think that's what the Celtics understand. And Jaylen Brown is your number, the guy that you want to be there in that top 20 range.
So that's the question is Brown. And so this was interesting. Jeff Goodman and Bob Ryan on a little kind of Garden Report extra after one of their podcasts did a segment for CLNS Media that you can find on our YouTube channel here. And you should check it out. You should check out their podcast as well. But Goodman's belief is Brown's not a 2. Brown's more of a 3. And I don't know that I disagree. For all of the talents and all of the things he does, I don't know if he's the number 2 guy on a championship team based on being asked to carry an offensive load that they're going to ask of him this year. What do you guys think?
We talked about that a ton during the playoffs, him needing to become that second guy. And the playoffs showed that not necessarily that he can't, because there were certain games where he carried the load for sure, especially in that Toronto series. Like, he had some monster games. We debated that 30 field goal attempt game forever. I thought he was so critical there, the way he asserted himself. But he wasn't always able to do that. Sometimes he got lost off the ball. Sometimes Marcus Smart was taking over more than him. So I disagree with Jeff. It felt like Jeff was saying more he's incapable of being that. I say within the flow of the Celtics system, where ball handling and playmaking so important, that he's capable of getting lost.
He can't be a system guy and a true number 2, though. I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think
you have to have it on your. You got to be able to do it apart from everything around you.
I think
what happened in that
is legitimate. I think he's going to get the opportunity, and that's what we're all going to find out. But I think the biggest difference that I think people are overlooking is the Gordon Hayward factor, the Kemba Walker. I mean, those guys, those touches. Now that they're not going to be there, or at least Kemba Walker for the next couple of months, that's when we'll really find out, when Jaylen can really sink into that number 2 spot, because he's never approached the season with that mindset. He's never even been close. So this is uncharted waters. But the thing that I bring up, or that I'm a bit worried about or interested to see how it's going to unfold, is if he's not capable, or if he's unable, or something, if Marcus Smart smells that opportunity to take over that number 2 spot, he's not going to think twice. So then what happens then,
Right. It's probably a bigger, like the first half of the season is probably biggest for Jaylen Brown, I think, for the reason you guys just mentioned. It's his opportunity to grab this number 2 spot, because we all knew Jason Tatum was a number 1, and then you had Kemba, and then you had Gordon Hayward in the mix, and Marcus Smart. But now it's like, okay, number 2 spot's up for grabs right now, and I think Jaylen Brown is capable of filling that role right now. My question is, will he? Because remember in that Heat series, one of the biggest things in the final games of that series is, where is Jaylen Brown? He's standing in the corner. He's not being aggressive. He's not taking shots. He's not driving to the hoop. And whenever he did, they had success, but he wasn't doing it enough. And even Danny Ainge, I think he went on the radio the next day and said, we got to get Jaylen Brown more involved. So Jaylen Brown needs to get himself involved. He can't be standing there watching Jason Tatum do it all.
Yeah. I want to quickly see a couple questions here. Joseph, one from you on the starting lineup. We will get to some questions later on for sure, so you guys can load them up maybe a little bit later in the hour so we can see them coming through on the chat. But yeah, keep them coming for sure. Bobby, go ahead. You were going to say there?
I was going to say the skill set's there for sure. And we saw it in that Rising Stars game a couple of years ago in different situations like Team USA where he's gotten the opportunity to get on the ball a little bit more. Hey, it's a different environment. It's a different context. So you get to see a guy's skill set in a different light.
We're basing so much. Anyway, keep going.
Well, I'm just saying the skill set's there. This guy, he was second to PJ Tucker in corner 3-point shooting. Across the board, I thought his three was phenomenal last year. He can get into the mid-range and hit a shot. And we know he's a great finisher. The LeBron dunk against LA last year. I want to say this about Brown too, though, because this is what I hate about the list too. Defense. So, like, if you have a defensive game changer, we talk about two-way players, even though everyone should be a two-way player if you're going to be great. He sets a tone defensively that fires up Boston's fast break, allows them to stay in games with players like LeBron James, some of the great wing players in this league. He's going to defend Kevin Durant on opening night or the second night whenever they're playing that game. He's going to be so instrumental what they do defensively that I think that levels you up in terms of your hierarchy on the team as well. Like when we think about the Celtics this year, they're going to be a defensive team, and he's going to be the centerpiece of what they do.
Though, Bobby, he still jumps for ball fakes on defense. He's still, for all that his handle's improved, it's still just okay. At times it's great. At times his ability to go to the hole last year was such a game-changing thing, but it's still not. You want to know that when he's got the matchup, when he's got a guy that cannot stay in front of him, you give it to him on the wing and he should just go every time, you know?
And there's not a lot of players that can stay in front of him. That's the thing.
Not a lot. And that's the thing is that's all him having enough control to figure out the hesitation, the pullback, to cross, to, you know, the threat of the pull up. You just have the guy on a string.
That's the thing. It goes back to It goes back to the complexion of this offense. What's it going
He's
to
a
look
predetermined
like?
move guy in his head. He's one of those guys that knows where he kind of has it set where he's going to do before he does it, rather than feels the D. He's much better at it than he used to be. How many times in the past would you see him go left, have a guy overplay him, have a spin if he wanted it, not take it, or spin back into a guy instead of continuing on because he had it? He knew it. He's better at that, but it's still not all the way there.
But it's in transition. I mean, that's the thing. And I think Kemba Walker, Gordon Hayward, these guys had a lot to do with that, pushing the tempo, pushing the ball up. How is he going to do in a half-court set, you know, between him and Tatum and Smart? I mean, these are things that they're going to have to figure out. But in that sort of offense and that sort of, you know, set where they're pushing the tempo, maybe Jeff Teague is your temporary starter at the point, pushing the tempo, pushing the ball, you know, getting him in those opportunities, because that's when he plays in his best, when he's in the open space, when he's, you know, in transition. There's not a lot of players that can stay in front of him.
That's key. That's key too, Josue. Jeff Teague easing that burden. They do still have a couple of different guys.
There's a big difference between him and Kemba Walker, Bobby. That's the thing. Kemba Walker, I mean, the pull-up three-pointer, attacking the rim, he was such a threat that, you know, guys had to come out and stay with him in transition, and then that's when Jaylen Brown shined, you know, in those open spaces.
Yeah, and Jason Tatum's taking on a load too when it comes to handling the pick and roll. So these two guys, in terms of ball handling, I've been saying it the last 3 weeks, they're going to dictate how well this team does. Tatum showed a little bit in that regard during the playoffs, so you feel good about him. So Brown can even run a pick and roll. We'll see.
Here's the thing too, and this is the bummer about this year, is I think you'd feel better about Tatum and Brown making the leap from, again, disclaimer, we know it's a list and it's imperfect, and it doesn't mean that this is where they are in the world, but they're not too far off from their numbers and their rankings here, okay? In order for Jaylen and Jason to make a leap from 30-something and, you know, outside of the top 10 into top 5 and top 15 and legitimately be the type of duo that on their own can carry a team to the title, they have to add layers to their game. it's what sucks about this offseason is they're basically coming back as almost identical versions of themselves. You don't have time to hit the gym, to add, extra muscle, to, refine a particular part of your game that you really wanted to work on. You basically had enough time to decompress, go home, chill out, and then maybe start to ramp up conditioning workouts just to be able to get into training camp again. So I don't know how much of a different player they're going to see. Whatever natural evolution you get just over time, but they didn't have an off season to work on stuff. So I don't know how different anyone is going to be, unless, of course, I could see regressions. People who just,
of course,
massive regressions. People going in. How many people are saying it now? Like, we'll play our way into shape when things begin. There's a huge portion of the NBA that just went home, got a little fat, got a little lazy, and they're just going to figure it out and slow play it through the month.
They're not going to be alone in that. And again, there's going to be nagging injuries. There's going to be a lot of stuff teams deal with.
Benefit. That's where guys like Tatum and Brown, those guys will roll out of bed, do 3 push-ups, and they'll be in shape. You don't have to worry about the kids as much. So for the Celtics point of view, I'm not concerned. But others certainly are. I just don't know how much better they can get.
And I think the condition-wise, Celtics are going to be, I think, ahead of a lot of teams because of the amount of time they spent in the bubble. Now, maybe that means they're going to tire it out or hit E on the gas tank sooner than other teams. But I don't think you're going to see a lot of players coming in out of shape like you might for some of the teams that didn't make the bubble or didn't go far in the playoffs. But the other thing you're talking about leaps, we got Jaylen Brown's leap between the stoppage and the bubble. That was the, I think, leap that we saw. We were calling him Bubble Jaylen, right? So I think you're going to, if you see that Jaylen Brown.
Tatum took an in-season leap.
Yeah.
Massive one. Massive.
But when Jaylen Brown came back from the bubble, it was much more noticeable. Actually, Jason Tatum had a very slow start in the bubble, and everybody was freaking out saying, what happened to Jason Tatum?
He didn't buy a hoop.
Yeah, exactly. He needed a basketball hoop. He's playing.
No, guys. It was the hair. Yeah, Latino Tatum was no more. After that, cut his hair. It was good.
So if we get that Jaylen Brown, if we get bubble Jaylen Brown, I mean, this season, like you said, John, it might feel like an extension of last season, just one long extension, one long year that we're in, one decade, whatever this feels like. It might feel that for this NBA season. But if that Jaylen Brown shows up and not the hesitant one in like game 5 and 6 of the Eastern Conference Finals, then I think that they'll be okay with that 1-2 combination.
Yeah. Anything more on this list? I got one more question for you guys off it.
Yeah, go for
it. Away.
We need Celtics need these guys. First, they need a healthy Kemba, but 4 players inside a top 50 with a very underrated Daniel Tice and Tristan Thompson in the mix certainly is good. I don't think removing the 44th best player in the league and Gordon Hayward makes them better. I think that's obvious that they would have been better had they found a way to keep Hayward in here. But this is workable again if everyone takes leaps, and that's what you're counting on with this team. I will ask you, is anybody on the current roster someone you could see at any point in time cracking a top 100? And I'm not saying a Daniel Tice after he gets the proper recognition. I'm saying any younger player you think
better.
Doesn't seem possible at this point.
Any younger player on this team that you think can turn into something?
I'll tell you what. I mean,
I don't know.
Aside from Naismith, if he holds up to what some people think he might be, I mean, I would hope that he could maybe crack the top 100 someday. But anybody on the roster that's not a rookie that I haven't seen play.
Oh, you mean this year, right, John? Or are you talking about in general?
Just ever.
Right now, you got the Celtics have them in the fold right now in a 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. At any point in time, could you see any of these? At any point in time, do the Celtics have a player that's top 100 worthy or top 50 worthy?
Listen. I mean, Robert Williams, I don't know how he's going to get an opportunity to ever crack that if he's like third or fourth on the depth chart this season. I don't know what their plans are for him. But if Naismith can come in and become a shooter, now all of a sudden he's getting regular playing time, I can see him cracking the top 100. I'm not talking about a top 20 player, but any guy that can be consistent from the outside, I think he can crack the top 100. So maybe he's my pick. But other than that, listen, Romeo, I don't know at this point. I mean, we haven't seen it. We haven't seen him play. Who the hell knows? Grant, I don't see that really in his future, at least not immediately. You can go down the line with some of the younger guys that I mean, Taco Fall, who knows? I mean, Taco Fall could all of a sudden could all of a sudden get some.
Speaking of Robert Williams,
that was John's guy.
Speaking of Robert Williams, my one of my preseason bold predictions is where he'll be a more useful big man than Tristan Thompson by the end of the year.
Wow. That's one take. Well, look at Bam had a buyout.
You'll be looking for more Robert Williams minutes than you'll be looking for Tristan Thompson minutes. That's what I'm saying.
Sizzling take.
I'm saying Tristan Thompson is going to be a situational, but you're going to be looking for Robert to be doing big things.
I'm not going to hop
Cantor,
on that.
you're saying Cantor 2.0?
So Robert's a guy, you see it. You see it when he goes in. We saw it in the bubble. The efficient scoring, the shot blocking, the athleticism, all that stuff. He showed it, and there was a time where we imagined him being a serious part of what they were doing there in the bubble during the playoffs. He got so close and fell just short when that pick and pop got thrown at him. So it's minor details that he needs to fix up, and he's in year 3. So we haven't seen a ton of them. The health's a big concern. But I look at all the guys on the roster, and I'm glad Jimmy brought him up because he has the look of a guy who could get within that top 100.
Don't you see one day you're going to walk in and he's going to be a completely different human, like not just physically, he's just going to be like more focused and like all over the place. You'll be like, oh my God, what about this guy? Like, I'm not saying it'll happen. I could just see it possible. Because of the physical profile.
It's more than possible. I mean, it's there.
I see one day all of a sudden it's like, it's like, your buddy who grows up, who grows 6 inches in 1 year and doesn't know what to do with himself. And he turns around, he's just knocking over furniture with his arms and legs. Like Robert Williams still has kind of that, like, I don't even think he knows like what to do with himself fully. I think when he puts it all together, has the right body type, really kind of slows it down and this year you saw it, both with his passing ability to knock down jumpers when it came down to it. He's still all over the place on the defensive end of the floor, but if he slows it down a little bit and uses his physical tools, I think he has enough to be something.
Yeah, but I just don't like his health injury, John. That's what scares me, especially for someone his size. Yeah, and, for someone that young. I have my money on Grant. Jimmy said you don't think he could be a top 100.
I don't disagree.
I think he's multifaceted. He has so many ways that he can impact the game. On both ends of the floor, and he's such a Brad Stevens Celtics guy. Like if Brad can hold on to this guy for as long as possible, I think he will. And I think the longer he's in Boston, the better he'll be because he's going to take on a big role. He's just that kind of guy. I mean, I don't have to say much. You guys know how he is. Like he'll literally run through a wall for Brad if he wants him to. So I think that kind of guy, that sort of with so many different ways he can impact the game. It's only a matter of fact before 2 or 3 of those, he becomes really good at them, and all of a sudden you have an impact player.
Jimmy.
Yeah, my last point on Robert Williams is what I think he needs, and maybe he has one to an extent. I don't know anything about his personal life, but he needs like a mentor, and I mean like a former player, a guy like, I'm gonna say it, and everyone's gonna laugh, but I'm gonna say it, a guy like Kevin Garnett that can just like get this guy in the right state of mind, like train him to be a killer out there in the court. He has all the physical tools. I think he doesn't quite have the mental capabilities right now to like be as strong of a player as he needs to be on the court or off the court. And I'm not questioning his work ethic or anything like that. He might be the hardest worker in the gym, but if he had a guy like a former player that can just really like stay on him and keep on him, I think that would just do wonders for him. I don't know if there's like somebody like that currently in the organization that is doing that for centers. I know the Celtics have had like big men coach in the past, and I know there's plenty of former players that have come through that organization, but somebody like a Kevin Garnett, and it won't be him obviously because I'm sure he's busy doing a million other things, but get a player who can sort of mold you into the type of player that you can be and see what you got in this guy, because I don't think showing up to work every day is going to do it.
Give me some PJ Brown here.
Yeah. How about
honestly,
how about Evan Turner? He's in the house.
How about Perkins? Kendrick Perkins has a lot of time. I see him on TV all the time.
Man. Yeah. I am going to, I don't know that
I'm glad we just skipped right over that.
I don't know that I believe he's going to make the list. I do think that Grant is the most intriguing because, it's he's got that. So somebody, one of our viewers,
young Celtics players, I swear, man. It's like, it just tops out of Jaylen Brown pretty much.
Jaylen Brown. I don't want to get into how wrong I was about Jaylen Brown. I'll be arguing. I'll be arguing that he was a busted pick at number 3 all the way to his Hall of Fame induction ceremony. You know, like I've been
you and Jeff. I mean, I couldn't put
so wrong about Brown.
I couldn't believe
the guy with the sign that says Jamal Murray.
A lot of people were. A lot of people were on him. I
was
wasn't. I like
100,000% sure that was a real bust of a pick. I know Danny wanted a wing. I thought he just reached at the best one available and he couldn't play at all. So fine. But Grant, and one of our viewers here, C-Mac, put downside PJ Tucker, upside Draymond Green. I think upside PJ.
Oh, the Draymond.
People love the Draymond comparisons. I think upside PJ Tucker.
They're accurate. I see it.
I think I think the ceiling is PJ Tucker. But I think the oh my God, could he be Draymond is the best case scenario. I don't think he's as athletic as Draymond. But
no, he doesn't have.
Well, he's not going to be Draymond with
close to the similar personality as
time,
Draymond that you need to be like that type of player. I feel like.
But he's not an instigator. He's got the little of everything, and I think what Celtics fans are going to love this year is, and again, this is going to play right into Bobby's hands. But what you have is basically you've got Marcus Smart at all three positions. You've got Marcus Smart as Marcus Smart at guard. You've got Grant Williams playing Marcus Smart at the small forward, and then you've got Tristan Thompson playing the role of Marcus Smart as the big man. So you're going to have a lot of this. God rest his soul. This would have been Tommy. Tommy would have had so many Tommy points to hand out this year to this team because of these guys. You know, because you're going to have a lot of those guys that do that thing that these guys do. But I think Grant Williams has the profile to be able to kind of Draymond light sort of thing. Shoot some. Play some defense, switchable, come up with buckets when you need it, play the defense, grab the rebounds, kind of be that guy where the stats are never going to be through the roof, but his value is going to exceed, you know, what the numbers show.
Well, is that going to get you on the top 100 list though? Tommy, I hope so.
On the right team.
We'll be giving out Tommy awards in memory, hopefully, this season.
Yeah, Bobby.
Feels like he'll get more time at the 4 this year. That should help him. He had to play a lot of center last year, which I didn't think suited him all that well. He's too short.
No, but all 5 makes sense when they do go to that lineup.
Occasionally. I thought it worked out 3 or 4 times last year. It worked out for minutes in that Miami series, but I like to see him at the 4 because he's got some perimeter qualities. His 3-point shot really came around by the end of the year. I like him, but I'm with Jimmy. The burst, the explosion's not there. Like when we talk about Draymond, I go back to that Western Conference Finals in 2019 where he just took over, taking it full court. Yeah, like the explosion of
years he didn't have that. Our first 3 years he didn't have that.
Hey, and Grant definitely lost some weight coming back. I've seen him in the videos and everything like that. Like he's definitely gotten a little more chiseled. He had more, plump qualities to him last year. So steps taken. But again, last year it's spot up shooting and that 15-foot post up game for him. There wasn't a ton to him offensively. But when we start thinking about the team this year, everybody defends. Everybody on the floor, everybody in the rotation is going to defend. And that's why we talk about Naismith a little bit. Doesn't feel like he's going to be in the rotation right now because of his defensive attributes. Mm-hmm. As Stevens isn't seeing it right now from him the way he's talked about him this week.
So we're going to be seeing
you knew that though. So what you knew that you knew that's what you were getting in him, right?
Drafted like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. He's got potential there. We talked about that on draft night. Apparently he's not seeing it. I mean, when Brad said today he was having trouble just getting up and down the floor when he first got in the camp, I mean, there's a message being sent there to some degree. Like he's just lower your expectations for Naismith coming in.
Yeah, for me, it's not the defense I'm worried about with the Celtics. It's the offense. Like, how do you put up 113 points? Like, can you even duplicate what you did last year? Chances are you can't. I mean,
you're a different team.
People forget Celtics were one of the top scoring teams in the East. That's not going to necessarily be the case now. There's new talent now. There's teams that are going to be able to put up more points, and the Celtics will be able to defend at a high level. But I just think, again, without Gordon Hayward, without Kemba Walker, those point productions, assists, there's a lot of points to make up. And whether it's Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart divvying up those points or those sort of productions, okay, yeah, sure. But then what happens after those guys? It falls off. After that, there's a lot of question marks coming off the bench. So Grant Williams, guys like that who I envision are going to eventually roll or probably already do heading into this season. They're only going to get better from that. They'll maximize their talent from this season, especially.
So Bobby, just out of curiosity, what was the comments with Steven? Because I've seen different things. I saw him say one thing. He thinks he'll pick it up quickly, but you're saying he's having a tough time getting up and down the court?
Well, yeah, once he got in the camp, it seems like when he was first getting in there after the draft, the conditioning. Today he said he hadn't played 5-on-5 since January. Broke his foot, of course, back in January. So there was obviously.
So it's more of a conditioning thing right now.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's going to happen, and it is going to be slow. And we talked about the rookies not really being able to pick things up here. We talked about this, and somebody asked a question on the chat here, just in terms of starting lineup. At this point, I do have to think, and again, we've got. You've got a really short preseason, and then it's on, right? So
yep, 2 games.
Yeah.
Expectations right now for the team as the preseason begins. I think you want to see rotations almost right away. You want to kind of see what it's going to be. I am curious. I'm a little torn on. Part of me wants to see. Part of me doesn't hate the Teague Grant Williams. The Teague starting in place of Kemba, because I think he simulates more of what Kemba does with Smart running with a second unit. I don't hate it, but then again, I can see Teague being one of the few shot creators on that second unit as well, and running with them.
I like that point more, and I'm going to hit back on Joe Sway a little bit with this right now. I think you can be a different team this year, especially in the early going. Get by on your defense. You can win regular season games being a defensive team. We've seen Memphis do it. Miami last year was that kind of team and made the NBA Finals. Utah does it every year. You can do that. Like they don't have to be scoring 130.
That's a tough schedule, Bobby. They're playing, the top teams in the East. Teams that have gotten significantly better compared to the Celtics during this offseason. So defensively, it's gonna be huge, but offensively, guys are gonna need to step up. Jeff Teague, that's a huge, not a concern, but he's in a big spot here, to put up points in a hurry.
Yeah, and he'll get a ton of minutes for sure. The steady veteran presence. 30. Brad loves that, but I'm starting Grant. Again, starters isn't a huge deal. And Brad even said that today. Like, minutes matters a lot more than starters. Like, who's your top 5 minute guys? We always see that with Smart. But you'll probably see Teague in that top 5 minute category. Bring him off the bench, but he'll be in that top 5. Probably closer category to end games.
And you're gonna see Robert Williams because Tristan Thompson is not gonna. We're not gonna see him.
And that's huge. That's great for Rob.
So he's going to play or in the preseason and possibly as the first big off the bench to start the regular season. I don't know what the Thompson timetable is, but he's out at least through the preseason. I can't see him being ready to go when the games begin. So you never know, but it seems like he's going to be a little late to the party.
Yeah, so that's good for Rob Williams, and of course that I have no problem with that. Let him ease his way in, so Grant Williams and Robert can eat up some minutes, especially Robert Williams, because he's going to have to start fighting for his once Thompson's healthy again.
Yeah.
Will Brad ever go big with Thompson and Tice and Tatum and Brown and Teague?
I think depending.
Bobby's like our.
He said no last week. He said it's possible, but probably not.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't think.
Gives you the option at least.
I don't think either of them shoot well enough. You need 4 spacers at least on the floor.
What'd you make of him saying that, talking about Tice potentially playing the 4?
Yeah, I don't see it. Tice, I don't know. Is he a good 3-point shooter at this point? Like, we have a year of him doing it well.
He's a willing 3-point shooter.
Yeah.
And he'll take it if he has to. But how many times did we see in the playoffs it swung around to him and he had the option to take it? And he's like, I'm going to pass this. I'm going to pass it up, And
Thompson feels similar. Like, he can do it, but he only took 38 last year and he didn't seem thrilled about it.
They'll do it in rhythm if they have to, but they almost don't want to be open for a 3 because they don't want to take it because it's just not their game, And
but it wasn't Horford's either. It wasn't Horford's game until he made it part of his game.
No, you're right.
Horford pushed it hard.
That late in life, Horford has the ugliest shot in the freaking history of mankind, and he became a super efficient 3-point shooter.
Yeah,
and that thing's grisly,
But again, it goes back to what you said, John. These guys don't have a full off season to work on a 3-point shot. You know what I mean? So you kind of know what you're getting.
You are who you are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, moving off the Celtics. Couple other news and nuggets off of the from this past week. Our boy Kyrie. Doing what he does best is creating drama where none exists. hints that he's not going to talk to the media since he's going to let the work on the court speak for itself. Then in classic,
he's never on the court.
And then in classic Kyrie form, barks back at the media and says it's a made-up controversy. That's not what I mean. But he's still not talking. He issued a statement, and that's that. I have a developing opinion on this. It's really easy to bash Kyrie, but I want to hear your take here. Again, I think it was a big collective eye roll from everybody from who covered him, as we did the couple of years he was here. He just it might not be a bad thing that he's not talking.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, man. I really do. I'm not going to speculate and say that the Brooklyn Nets are in on this, but if you're the Brooklyn Nets, I'm happy about this. Great. No, maybe we don't see any tirades because let's face it, guys. We're talking about reporters that are speaking through, on a Zoom that maybe they have a little more confidence to ask some of the more ballsy questions that'll really get Kyrie going, the ones that are really trigger him. And then all of a sudden we're going through, tirade after tirade, week after week. It'd be very distracting for the team to really push for the NBA title,
Yeah.
So for me, this just it wasn't surprising to get some ridiculous statement out of Kyrie at media day. I think the NBA, and I don't know if they will, but I think the NBA should fine him if he doesn't speak to the media, and that's not because I feel like I'm part of the media and he should have to talk. But listen, part of your job as an NBA player, of which you make millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars a year, is doing the media thing, doing the PR for the league, for the team, being an ambassador, speaking out, that's all part of what you're getting paid for. You're a Brooklyn Net. You go up there to the podium, you speak, whether it's before the game, after the game, at a community event, in good times and in bad. That's part of your job as a Brooklyn Net, as a leader of the team, as a member of that organization, as a player in this league. And for you to just say, "Oh, I'm not going to talk," well, now you're putting the onus on your teammates, so who are supposed to look to you to lead, and now you're gonna go 3 for 20 and then dip out of the game and have LeVert speak for you after the game. How is that fair for him? But it's unfortunate that's how Kyrie thinks. He thinks the media twists what he says. Media doesn't twist what he says. He says what he says, and the media reports on what he says, and then it ends up being true more times than not. I mean, media said he didn't have a good relationship with LeBron James. He didn't like LeBron James. Comes out they didn't. LeBron pretty much just said that a couple of days ago. Media said he wanted to, join with Kevin Durant. He said, no, that's not true. And then what did he do? He joined a team with Kevin Durant, 2 max deals.
Not only did he say it wasn't true, he lectured all of us for speculating.
Yeah, he lectured all of us that is the
you just
internet
make
real
stuff
to you.
up. No, that's
is the internet real life to you? Yeah. I mean, this guy, one thing after another. I mean, it's unfortunate that that's how he wants to be. And that's pretty much all I have to say about it. I wonder if the NBA will just do anything, or they'll just sit in his hands and let him run the show.
Well, it's a classic debate. As soon as it happens, both sides of it. You're going to have one side that's going to say, a bunch of people, it's his job, he's got to talk, it's part of the deal. If you don't like it, do something else for a living.
It's true.
And then there'll be others who'll say he doesn't owe the media anything. He can do whatever the hell he wants. And if he doesn't feel like talking, he doesn't have to talk. And I mean, the second side is wrong. I mean, it is part of the game. But ultimately, at first I was like, oh, F this guy again. But at the end of the day, it really is better if he doesn't speak ever.
That's not true. How is that true? How has it ever been true, though?
Because
every athlete in the history of sports has spoken to the media, whether or not they've been good at it or not.
It doesn't matter.
He has a voice, though. He can use his voice for a lot of good if he chooses.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing.
He does stuff off the court. He does other things.
I feel like there's a loophole here, right? He's going to say, oh, he's going to put up these messages or whatever he plans to do, and instead of fielding questions, just putting up a response, he's going to say, well, technically, I spoke to the media. You can't find me. I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of loophole here.
Whether that or not, here's where it gets into an issue. If he keeps going out and shooting friggin' 4 for 27 and turning the ball over or having a bunch of shitty games and doesn't hold himself accountable by talking and answering questions, and then other teammates have to ask about, get asked over and over again, what's up with Kyrie? Or if he looks sullen and people are trying to read his body language, he can create massive distractions for his teammates. That's always been my thing. It's the job. It's you're creating a drama and a situation where your teammates are constantly going to have to be asked, hey, what's going on with Kyrie? Since he won't talk to us, I'll ask you. And it's not just a Kyrie specific thing. You see this all the time. When stars dart out because they don't want to face the music after a locker room. And there's been past like Red Sox teams I've covered that would do this, and they would leave 2 to 3 people to answer all of the questions and be like, well, what do you think's going on with this guy? And it'd be like, I don't know, freaking ask him. You know, like you just get so tired. Like, I don't know. I'm not Kyrie. I don't know. I'm not Kyrie. Ask Kyrie. You know, like that's the only place it can become an issue. Otherwise, every time he talks, he puts his foot in his mouth. He creates distractions. It's probably better for him if he doesn't talk. It's better for him.
Probably better. It's probably better for him. Yeah, but I mean, it's probably better for a lot of guys who still talk. I mean, you think Kevin Garnett really wanted to talk to the media half the time? No, and a lot of times he didn't. But a lot of times he also did, and he was accountable, and he probably said some stuff. I'm not picking on Kevin Garnett. I'm just using him as an example. Any players probably said something that they regret at some point, and you know what? You move on. Maybe you apologize. Maybe you don't, and you go into the next thing, and you go into the next game. But if you're going to just avoid, and things are going to pile up, things are going to just start to add up and get worse and worse until they boil over.
Yeah, there's always a point on both sides for me with this. Would I like to see him out there? Sure. You as a reporter, you like to have access to these guys. I'm not crying that he's not out there. You can always find different ways to do it. I think where he's gotten himself into trouble in these press settings is talking about the younger players on these teams. We've seen it in Boston now. We've seen it in Brooklyn. I don't think it overly plays well. Didn't here in Boston for sure when he started talking about what these young players need to do, what they need to learn, especially when we look at Kyrie's career and say, what has he done to move the needle on a team besides playing with LeBron? You know, we have 3 circumstances now where he didn't move it all that much last year as well in Brooklyn. So, again, I'm going to be focusing on Kyrie's play. I don't really care what he says. I'm not getting caught up in every little comment.
I actually care more what he says because it's entertaining.
Well, I think this team's a lot more consequential than I
want to see them implode, and part of them imploding is Kyrie being friggin' cuckoo bananas. You know, like that's the fun part.
I think we've seen in NBA history, and we saw with Kevin Durant in 2019. Things weren't right in that locker room. Kevin Durant took a break from talking in the media that year. It wasn't the cleanest situation.
Friggin' human being in the history of mankind.
I'm just saying, you can have a locker room that's a little messed up that has the talent to do it. And this could all be part of the plan with Kyrie, too.
Yeah, the Celtics locker room wasn't awesome in 2008.
They talked about this.
Yeah, so I have high expectations for this next team.
Rondo, Ray, they had some issues.
They worry me a bit down there in Brooklyn. Like if Durant, I keep saying this, if Durant's right, it doesn't matter what Kyrie's saying. It doesn't matter what Steve Nash is drawing up on the sideline. If Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant, this team's winning the East. Like there's no way around it. And there might be issues with younger players here. They might make a dramatic trade. I think that's the biggest risk to what's going on there in Brooklyn. If they make a trade that ends up sinking them.
Way worse if they trade some of these players superstar bubble. What a mess that would be.
I agree.
They're much better off holding on to that younger talent.
They're a deep team right now.
They're deep.
Yeah, they have everything everywhere.
Much better off holding on to all those players instead of packaging everything for Harden. That's the worst thing they could do. That's what's interesting is, and I wanted to talk about the Harden thing a little bit. Nobody wants him. That's right. Like he wants out. He's holding his breath. He shows up out of shape. Shows up late. Doesn't feel like playing. Does a sort of mini holdout is the reason Westbrook was traded, and he's here, and he doesn't want to play, and he wants to go to Brooklyn, then he wants to go to Philly, and those teams are like, I don't think so,
Yeah, like no, we're good.
We're good. Like they're talking about breaking up the Simmons Embiid thing for Harden. They're like, no, I'd rather roll with these guys, and the Nets don't want. They're fine. They're like, we got 2 stars and ball dominant stars and a bunch of good players around him. I don't want him either. I don't know where this guy goes. It's interesting that you're talking about a guy who's arguably one of the most efficient, dynamic offensive players in the history of the league, and certainly in the last 20 years. And nobody wants. It doesn't feel like anybody wants a piece of this right now.
Well, I think it's high risk, high reward for a lot of teams, right? I mean, it's not, I don't think it's as simple as we don't want him. I think it's
you just don't want to give up everything you have.
Exactly. We know what it's going to take to acquire you, and we're not sure you're going to like it here, or we're not sure you're going to fit with what we already have here. I mean, if you're the Nets, I mean it's crazy to think that Harden, Durant, and Kyrie, listen, 3 of the best players in the NBA, no question. But when you put them on the same team, how the hell is that going to work? And you're gonna sell your future essentially by trying to make that trade work. We just talked about how deep they are. I mean, same with the Sixers. I mean, you're not going to get Harden without getting rid of one of your 2, current and future cornerstones. So it's like almost like not worth it to those current teams. And then you've got some teams that may not currently be in the playoff hunt, but maybe a guy like Harden takes them there. But is that what he's looking to do? Is he looking to just go to some, obscure team and carry this team now to the playoffs? Like, I don't know. There's so many questions where it's almost like if you're a GM, you're like, if you're a GM and you're like, and your job's kind of safe, you're like, I'm not going to go like blow this whole thing up and like have it backfire on me in 2 years.
Yeah.
And also the big problem too is how many superstars or all-stars really want to team up with James Harden, especially teams that already have 2 guys, that already have a good thing.
What's in it for you?
We really want to rock the boat here and bring a 3rd guy in. And I'm telling you, I think it's the reputation.
Was it good for you? No.
Not just amongst GMs or through the Rockets organization, but also through across the league. I think the word is out that people don't want to play with the guy, But one team that I don't know, guys. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about this. One team I think might do it, might roll the dice. For some reason, I think they might do
Pacers.
it. No, the Toronto Raptors. Maybe.
Okay.
Did that set up remind you of the Carson Edwards thing with Joe Sway there?
Wait, what?
That was one of the great moments in the history of the
show. You told us on this great thing you were going to tell us about.
You started doing some calculations.
Hold on, let me just carry the one.
That was the last one.
What if you played Carson Edwards?
That was the final card in the deck that you could play.
That was the very hottest take of the whole playoff series.
So wait, what was your Harden take?
Hey, get out of here! That's the end of the deck. Joker, get out of here.
What's your Harden take?
No, I mean that's the only team I think that might bite a significant, team that's in the hunt or a team that's a playoff team.
Is the Raptors? Raptors? He said,
but they're not going to do it right now.
This is going to
be. This will be later on.
But aren't they still gearing up for a Giannis run here?
That's true. Giannis still hasn't signed.
That's true.
Yeah,
you have to hold out for that, and they have the money.
That's the thing. So that's another great point because the Rockets. How many teams are willing to wait or not or say no altogether? And I bet you a lot of those teams are nowhere near playoff finals contenders.
We're obligated to ask the question if they came knocking and they asked the Celtics, "Hey, what do you think?" I've made my feelings clear. I wouldn't trade friggin' Romeo and a future 2nd rounder for Harden. Like I want nothing to do with it.
I would.
With Ainge.
So forget it. But I mean, obviously, everybody knows here. You're talking, Jalen and Smart most likely to get this done. Which I mean, I don't even think if you see the area code, you can take the call. But is there a world in which you could convince yourself that you would want to do a Tatum Harden tandem and have, okay, I'm going to have I'm going to get my 2 top 10 players and I'm going to do that thing. I'm going to try to be that,
Uh-huh.
Could you talk yourself into it? I could talk myself into it for a top 10 player not named James Harden. I couldn't do it for Harden. I could easily mortgage both Jalen and Smart for someone else in that top 10. Maybe. I couldn't do it for Harden.
It's tough because you have the situation right now where Tatum signed for 5 years, where Brown signed for 5 years, and they're both fairly comfortable with their spot in the hierarchy of this team. Brown's gone if you're acquiring Harden. Like, there's no way I can see that trade getting done without that. And then how do you share the responsibility between Harden and Tatum? We've seen Harden fail epically now with Chris Paul. Well, not epic. They worked until the very end. And then Russell Westbrook. 2 ball-dominant guys. Tatum needs to become a ball-dominant player to reach his potential. I don't see it. And, again, I don't want to snub my nose at it because we talk about some of the issues with the top-end talent here in Boston.
Yeah.
But, man,
if you could somehow do a Kemba package, but it's just not happening. And that's why this this stalemate's going to go on for so long because other teams aren't ready to give up everything. Brooklyn, I think, is, John. I think they're more ready to do this than you think. Their package just isn't great enough because they don't. Karis LeVert's close to being that centerpiece player for a trade, but he's not quite there.
To do with this, Bobby? Are you kidding me? You really think that they're gonna consider this?
It wouldn't just be that. It would probably be like one of those
you need a third team or something.
No, but it would also be a Nets deal that would be like 5 first-rounders spread out.
I still don't think it's enough.
6 years from now, so like it would be like my first rounder every other year for 4 years, starting in 2026 or something. Like I could see that potentially.
Houston should hold out for Ben Simmons. I'd take Ben Simmons over 15 Nets picks. Like that's got to get done.
But that's the thing is the Sixers don't want to do that.
That boggles my mind.
I think another team steps in, maybe like a Hawks team. Like again, if he gets dealt, I don't think he gets traded to one of these top teams. And heck, Atlanta.
I agree.
James Harden would love himself some Atlanta. Like, put him with Trae
James
Young.
Harden would love himself some Atlanta.
The Nets could make it work. I think the Nets could make it work if they wanted it.
Go nuts. It's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd throw in like LeVert and
it's just not
a few picks and make the salaries match. And
all right, so
you have to nail this trade if you're Houston. That doesn't feel like nailing it to me.
Would I trade Brown and Smart for Harden? I probably wouldn't. But man, and the reason is I don't know how well Harden and Tatum could like coexist. I think they're both like they need the ball and like there's only so many shots, and I wouldn't want Harden to stunt Tatum's growth in that aspect. But man, in a world where that would work, how fun would that be to just have two like unreal scorers just going down the court.
Step back three. Like you can't defend it. Right.
Yeah, like essentially every possession you're expecting some sort of points to go in, whether at the line or behind the arc. I mean, that I can see a world where that would be pretty fun, but I don't know if the Celtics are deep enough around those two guys to make that happen. They don't really have, to me, the role players. If you get rid of Smart, I don't think they have the team that can like make that work around those two.
Well, you would make it a bigger trade. You try to get PJ Tucker back and some of the other role guys in Houston that are familiar with him.
I mean,
I don't want to snub my nose at it like you, Jimmy. It's just I see how he plays. This is where we all kind of get sick with him. The 15-second dribbles. And I've heard someone say, I've talked to someone about this, they think outside of D'Antoni it could be different with him, but I'm not buying it. Like, this is how he's become that 40, 50 point per game scorer at his best. Like, he just, everything revolves around him.
But when he's hot, I mean, there's no better highlight reel sometimes when you're watching SportsCenter than watching him go off.
And when he's cold,
John,
those teams
he's way
are
more
dead.
fun to watch than Giannis, though. I mean, we talk about
I disagree. I disagree with
he's
that.
He's more fun than Giannis.
I don't disagree. Harden blows my mind with that stuff because it's like, I can't believe he did that again. I always say, like, Giannis is like, again, I keep you making these, analogies, but like you're playing on a Nerf hoop in your basement, like, and it's like, and you're at the 3-point line and then you take 2 steps and dunk. Like, that's what Giannis is like, like it's just boring.
And your little brother goes crying to his mom upstairs, and like that's the end of the game.
Exactly. You're playing against your little brother. He thinks he's got you, and you just go ping ping and you dunk it. That's
I never heard people complain about Shaq, and it was the same thing with him. I don't know what you guys are talking about with this Giannis.
Was more expensive and big, and Shaq was Shaq. I don't know why Shaq was different. All right, so I want to bring it back full circle to where we started, okay? And then we'll end this off here. What the hell's wrong with Josue?
Dudes.
We've been debating. I'll wait for Josue to get in here. Are you gonna hang out or what?
You good, bro? Some coffee?
Okay.
Can't even hear him now.
We've been debating on the thread about, like top end talent in the Celtics here and whether they have it. And again, I'm going to go back to the ESPN list only as a starting point for this conversation, because then the question is, how high end is the Celtics' highest end talent here, right? So if you looked at their tandem just based off of the ESPN rankings, okay, and you add the two numbers together where they're ranked, they're 43, 11 and 32, right? If you look at, and again, these are just lists, but certainly AD and LeBron are going to be ahead of that because they're both top 10 players. Other players that will finish higher than the 43 will be KD and Kyrie, Damon McCollum, Kawhi and Paul George, Giannis and Middleton, Jokic and Murray, Adebayo and Butler, Embiid and Simmons, the Booker and Chris Paul, and then close to them, Ingram and Zion, and also Mitchell and Gobert. That's a large list of teams that can stack up better or very comparable to your two top players. So again, when Bobby, we were having the conversation of, okay, well, the Celtics, high-end talent is what wins it. How high-end is the Celtics talent in reality? I mean, they might have, you can make an argument there.
Well, let's keep it to the East. That's a fair way to do it.
As high as 5 or 6, but as low as 10 or 12. Depending on how you look at it. The Butler Adebayo, I'm not sold that those guys are better. I don't care that their ranking is there, but that's something. Simmons and Embiid have always been considered better. I'm not sold there either because of the fit. So I'm not super sure there just in the East. Giannis and Middleton, I'm going to give them the nod only because Giannis is in a different stratosphere. And
they've been doing it for quite some time now. So.
And Middleton and Jalen are roughly a wash, I think. But Giannis is just in another level from Tatum right now. It might not be that way forever, but you have to agree there, right?
Right. Oh, yeah, for sure.
KD and Kyrie, again, if KD is right, it's really hard to argue there, right?
KD alone carries it. To just put any player B with KD.
Yeah, I mean, and you could have made the argument Curry and Clay would have been there too if Clay didn't hurt himself again, as certainly certainly. Yeah. And you can argue Beal and Westbrook. I'm not going to argue it because I much prefer Tatum and Brown. But in the East, I think that's where you have it right there with those guys, with those 4 teams, and this tandem as the best pairings, right?
Yeah, and that places you at the 4th seed, which is about where I see this team realistically.
Yeah. Turner bonus.
Nah,
yep. Turner into bonus, absolutely.
I mean, that's more Jimmy's coffee there, but I'm not rolling with it.
You can go Turner Sabonis. You can go Turner Oladipo. You can go Turner Warren. I mean, you can go a bunch of different ways with the Pacers.
So I said this with Mariah earlier. That Bam Butler thing, you have to respect. You have to respect what Miami.
I'm gonna walk all over that. Jeez.
You have to respect what Miami did last year.
I think both of those guys were a little high on that list, but that's just me.
Well, what they did last year was incredible in the playoffs, and they can build on that. They're defensive menace, both of them, and they almost
Tatum and Brown over those two. I'm actually not even blinking at it. I'm not even blinking.
I mean,
the scoreboard says what the scoreboard says.
So much better than Butler that them being one ranking apart on that list is a joke. Personally, I have Tatum so far above Butler on that list.
And if we remember,
I'll take wings over bigs 100 out of 100 times. I'll take that one. I take the Celtics.
I don't think it's that.
Butler showed up, and Butler showed up in like 1 or 2 games in that Celtics series, but he was fairly quiet for the majority of that Celtics series.
Jimmy, what about the NBA effing?
He was.
Oh yeah, Joe Sway. Go ahead.
The greatest performances.
You didn't let me finish my point. You didn't let me finish my point. My point was that it was the Heat as a team that got them to the NBA Finals. I mean, you guys haven't even mentioned Hero like in this video once. So I mean, don't forget how huge he was for that Heat team. They had guys stepping
Hero
up
was in the 55 range of players on this list after a year.
I mean, they had guys stepping up. I mean, Adebayo was an absolute beast in that series against the Celtics, much more than Butler was. Now, Butler obviously was crazy in the NBA Finals, and he made it like actually interesting when we all thought the Lakers were going to roll over the Heat. He made it like a fun series. And I'll give him all the credit in the world for that. But I'm with John, where it's like, I'm definitely saying Tatum is better than Butler, and I don't think it's as. Maybe it's because I'm thinking projecting more like over the course of Tatum's career.
I think he's better today. He was better yesterday. He was better all season. I don't even.
He
think
is, but I mean, when you compare like where they both are in their careers, age-wise too, like he's definitely going to continue to be better than Butler over the years. But I mean, obviously, you got to give Butler his credit for the performance that he put in last season.
The context matters too. Miami has a fantastic team, and that aids those two in being able to do what they do. I think Brooklyn will do that too for the 2 stars there. Meanwhile, we look in Philly, and that team minimizes everything that their 2 stars do.
My hot take: Durant's going to be a shell of his former self. He's still going to score because he can shoot. He's not going to be the same guy.
Yeah, I think efficiency is going to be a huge.
He's not going to be the same guy with that. With an Achilles, he's in his 12th year, 11th year. I mean, what are we talking about here?
You mentioned this, John. That Beal Westbrook thing starting to intrigue me more and more. I look into it, I read about it, I think about it. That's Westbrook and Beal in Washington. That's going to be an intriguing duo because we've gone so low on Westbrook, and we just talked about some of the issues with Harden in terms of fitting alongside him and just how screwed up that Houston situation is looking to be at this point. Westbrook is going to have such a big comeback season, I think. And that Washington team, I could see them as high as 5 in the East with some of the young talent they have there in that top 2 duo.
Yeah.
I think he could mesh well with Beal.
He showed up early. He saw smiles. He got a new number. You're not into it? He's trying to be a leader now.
Hey, I'm just talking regular season for now. I have my playoff concerns too, but man, Westbrook and Beal in the regular season, they're going to stack up some W's.
I don't know. Like I said,
will they?
I could see them as high as 5. I think they're going to surprise a ton of people.
Yeah, but who's balling out after that?
Bobby, do you have your 1 through 8, Andy?
Yeah, I'll give it to you. Want it off the top? All right, so
we'll finish. We can wrap it up with this. So we'll rip this apart.
Let's go 1 Milwaukee because I think Giannis is going to play every game.
I didn't have this list ready.
Every game, okay.
2 Brooklyn. There'll be a little more load management there.
Wow, you're high on Brooklyn.
They have a ton of depth. Any given night, they can put guys on the court who are going to win a game for them, no matter who's out there. 3, I'll go Miami. I think they're going to have a big boost off last year. 4, I'll put the Celtics. 5, give me Washington. I think Washington's going to shock people. Let's go 6, Indiana. 7.
Where's Philly?
7 will go Philly.
What are you doing? Where's Philly?
I think.
Did you forget about them?
I don't like them. I don't like Philly. There's a reason I forgot them. And 8, I don't know. Take your pick.
You're making up. You didn't have this list ready. Why did you ask him?
I had the top 5 ready. That's all that matters.
Oh, okay. He had 5. Well, that's why he forgot Philly, I guess.
Well, I don't.
Nets are going to fall to 4 or 5.
Listen, when it comes to Philly, they're completely reliant on whether or not Embiid and Simmons can coexist, and whether or not Doc Rivers can get them.
Oh, Toronto 6. Put them in there. Indy will be my 8.
Wow, Bobby.
You don't have a list.
Wait. You put Toronto. What? So Celtics are what? 2 slots or 3 slots above Toronto?
All right. No, he said Celtics 5.
2. They'd be 4. Toronto 5.
Well, I bumped them down.
Washington.
This was a terrible way to end this show.
I thought he had it.
No, Jimmy all talked it up too.
It was up here. I had to scramble around and find it. It wasn't on paper.
Texting about it. He was texting about it. I thought he had it.
Oh God.
I'll go top 5. All right. Number 1, Milwaukee. I'm gonna go 2, the Miami Heat. And I feel like people are just forgetting what they did and like as if they're not gonna get better or at least be the same. I don't.
All those young shooters.
I got Miami 2, 3. I'm gonna go Toronto. Toronto. 4.
Wow.
They lost a little bit.
Toronto?
I'll go Toronto a bit.
Okay.
4 Philly, 5 Boston.
Philly. Oh man, every year people drink the Kool-Aid on Philly going into the year. When are we gonna stop with this? I know they made some good adjustments. The core is the core.
I got them top 5, but Celtics could be teetering between 5 and 6.
Celtics could go as low as 6 if the Nets are good, and as high as 3.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, crap, they could get as high as 2 if everything goes right, but I think that's about right.
You know what? I'll put Brooklyn in front of Philly. Excuse me. So then Boston, in best case scenario, is right there.
Yeah. We don't know. We have no idea.
We don't know. Bobby forgot about Toronto when he started. He forgot Philly and Toronto were in the East when he started his list.
Well, Toronto moved to Tampa. That's what got me.
Top 3 when the season ended, and now we're the Celtics, barely top 5.
It's tight. I mean, top to bottom.
That's what happens when you lose 2 really good players.
But Joe Sway, don't say that because Celtics fans just call you a hater and negative. Like, you can't just be a realist. Talk about the offseason. Everything has to be.
Well, let me ask you this:
green-colored glasses.
Where would they be?
Points between Kemba and Hayward, yeah, okay, but also how many assists, especially Gordon Hayward. That's a huge loss. That wasn't replaced.
Yes, huge, but it was by Tristan Thompson. We're not going to do this again. We've been going over an hour. We're not doing it.
Not doing that's really what. Look, can we all agree top 5? Maybe.
No.
Maybe question mark. Maybe I should be the.
Think they'd be in a similar place if they did the things you guys want them to do.
Okay, no, not doing this. We'll talk about Legends. Bobby, want to tell them about it? Josue's wearing it. The Legends brand.
For those listening on the podcast, Josue is rocking a I would say maroon colored Legends hoodie.
Yeah.
You get the drawstrings. Let's check out that hood. Put the hood on for a second. What do we got?
Oh yeah, I love the hood.
Oh, that's some good coverage. Oh, that's good coverage. That looks comfortable, man.
That looks like it really is.
So you got pockets in the front?
Yep, got a little pouch.
This is a good garment. Again, Nick Gelso giving out stuff to his friends. I never get anything.
I didn't get one.
Literally, I've never gotten one. I haven't gotten one product ever. Not even ball dusting powder.
Get out of here! You definitely got that, bro.
Not a single thing. So visit legendbrand.com/Horford. Okay, use the promo code Horford20 to get 20% off your next purchase. Once again, thelegendsbrand.com/Horford, promo code Horford20. Okay, go get it. Get the stuff. I don't get it. You guys can have it.
I'm gonna get it for Christmas.
Hoodie, Christmas hoodies and joggers. It's winter. $75 I see here. That's not bad at all.
Nothing. No swag.
What's money, anyways? What even is it?
With 20%, nothing.
Yeah. So go get some of that. As for the Garden Report, we'll be back. We might be the next time you see us might be a post game for the first preseason game next week, which
Tuesday.
Which is just crazy town.
Oh my god.
Post game is back.
We're gonna overreact to everything.
So we'll do that. We will take questions. We didn't have time today. Things went a little long, but thank you for joining. Bobby Manning, Jimmy Toscano, Josue Pavone. If you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's good stuff there.
And Celtics All Access.
Celtics All Access. It's our Celtics specific exclusive YouTube channel, Celtics All Access. Some of you are watching on our main channel. Some of you are watching on the Celtics channel. Celtics channel is where it's going to be at during the year. Subscribe there. You're going to get notifications when we go live. All the press conferences, all of our post-game videos, all of our videos throughout the week, all of our awesome podcasts, Jeff Goodman, Cedric Maxwell, Bob Ryan, the Winning Plays pod. We literally have the greatest fleet of Causeway Street pod. What are we talking about? Bobby Manning, Dome Theory. We're legitimately loaded with basketball
I'm going to have a podcast.
Jimmy and I might do something. A little something on the side.
Jimmy Johns.
Check out the iTunes. Check out the review, guys. No, seriously, in all seriousness, all those podcasts are incredible.
Causeway Street, rate and review. Great, an amazing Celtics beat, amazing array of Celtics podcasts. You should check them all out.
Shout out to Brenham, by the way. He was on the latest episode.
Brenham, a CLNS alum.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. We never forget.
Ton of good stuff. So check all of that stuff out. Subscribe to all of it. We're all cranking now as the season's about to start. We barely had an off season. We're psyched about it though, because we got a lot of stuff ready to rock. So thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.